we're going to end the episode there. We're getting back to Apothecary having bad cliffhangers. We're going to end it right there. We just brought up poison, and then we have Gyokyo in there with Hanyeon, and she's pouring her something, and she's got a look on her face. We're really going to make Hanyeon into a bad guy? Like, why are we doing this? I did feel like they were bringing up Hanyeon a lot lately. And so it's kind of like, are we flagging this? Yes, she's a head lady in waiting, so she's going to be brought up a lot, but still, it's like, are we really doing this? Are we really going to do something where Hanyeon is working for somebody to poison Gyokyo? It can't. I think that might just be like a false flag right there, just to kind of tease you a little bit there. But man, episode 26 of Apothecary, what a fantastic episode. A lot to really think about from this episode. I really love it because we had like the previous episode was kind of just to warm us back into the series. And this one, they're like, let's throw a whole bunch of crap at you. Let's dive into one by one. Okay, so of course, we had the caravan show up in the rear palace. And of course, they're insinuating, or at least Mao Mao's trying to figure out if there's, you know, some sort of connection through all this stuff. Which again, I love they're bringing that back up. The idea of Mao Mao, don't speak on conjecture. You have to find the proof. You can't just speak out things, say that something's happening, which she technically did. And I think that's kind of a nice thing about how they play out the mysteries in this series where, yes, from the outsider's perspective looking in, and whenever Mao Mao kind of connects something, you immediately want to go, okay, speak up. So yes, when they bring in a whole bunch of clothing that all seems to be for a pregnant woman, it's like somebody seems to know that Gyokyo is pregnant. Despite the fact they're trying to keep that under wraps, it seems like somebody knows because they're bringing in merch for that specifically. They're all stuff that's kind of tied up high for the belly rather than it being around the waist. So yes, Mao Mao's response is to go, hey, ask for things that are around the waist. Not to say go out there to the merchants and say, okay, who knows? How do you guys know this? It's really to say, let's just act like she's not pregnant. Let's make it look like she's not pregnant, which again is a nice way to sort of nudge at Gyokyo that, hey, something's sus here, but I'm not going to say it out loud. And it seems like Gyokyo is kind of picking up on it. But still, it's kind of an interesting thing there to kind of show something's coming from this. And yes, she has to kind of watch her words very carefully. I like that aspect. But yeah, also connecting the idea that we have all these scents that seem to all be implying the same thing, that they're trying to end these pregnancies or at least prevent them. Again, kind of a nice way to sort of note that stuff. Now, granted, yeah, sort of what Mama was kind of getting into in the previous episode, and the idea of turning these flowers into oils and whatnot, that some of them have these effects. There is a semblance here that, yes, at the end of the day, they are still things that normally people would want. They're fads. They're things that people enjoy, just like the powdering. Yes, it became a fad. Everybody wanted it, but nobody knew the risks of it. And so she has to be careful to say, oh, somebody's after the concubines. Oh, somebody's after the pregnant concubine. She can't just outright say it because it still technically is something that is either unknown or through low quantities, and which makes it a perfect way of killing people, which makes it literally the perfect poison. The idea that nobody really knows about it, or it's so obscure or so minuscule in how it's kind of dosed that a lot of people are going to overlook it. And so again, it's cool to have her once again having to push upon herself, be careful, some of this stuff just might be coincident, but also trying to figure out what is coincident and what is not. Now, what I was talking about with the previous episode and the idea of the caravan coming was, the question mark was, is there a concubine coming? Now, at the time, I speculated, no, that can't be because they essentially have 4 concubines, these main concubines. I think they said they only have 4 pavilions. They may have another one. They might not need a pavilion for another concubine. They do have other concubines besides these 4. But the question mark was, were they bringing in another special concubine? Now, it seems like this episode opened up with Jinshi talking about this is a special caravan. Yes, the initial caravan is all the merch and whatnot coming in. That's typical. This happens on a regular basis. It seems like it's annual, I think they mentioned, which would explain why Mama has never seen it, why this other girl has never seen it. They've only come here recently, and so they never seen the caravan come in. This is a big deal. Whenever this caravan comes in, it's a big deal. It's got a great merch. Everybody's excited about it. They're wanting to spend money. They want to get new clothes. And yes, they have a lot of fads. But based on that brief shot that we had, it looked like there was 2 very beautiful women in one of the caravans. And my assumption was because of why Jinshi now is saying that it's a very important caravan, an important diplomatic matter is at hand, it does imply that either somebody important, like maybe another emperor, maybe a major leader or something like that is coming into the area, or the possibility that maybe a princess, or maybe again another concubine. So there's a possibility this other place that's coming in here with the caravan is also bringing in a special woman. And that does sort of lead me to believe that they might be enacting something in order to make sure that they become the special woman for the emperor. And the idea that, yes, they might be wanting to send in all this stuff to end or stop any pregnancies very quickly so that they can then bring their women in and they could be the one that will actually provide the heir to the empire after that. That technically makes sense to me. This might all be tied together. And that's sort of the cool thing that I found with this writer is that sometimes it feels like everything is all connected. But in some cases, like Mao kind of puts, sometimes it's just coincidence that this might be happening, but it's not necessarily connected to this thing. And you might be assuming that since these all kind of feel like they can all lead to the same goal, it might not. It might just be, the fact that all this stuff has scents on them just could be the fact that they smell good and people want to smell good. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to kill these children. At the same time, that was the same case with the whole powder. It might just be the fact that everybody just want to look pretty. They just didn't know that it had this lead. It's not common knowledge. And that's always what Mao Mao brings to the forefront, which is always interesting. But that's my current theory that I have, that this could be somewhat related in the idea that they want to sort of throw a smoke bomb into the rear palace to get rid of any competition. Yes, increase some fads in there because they might know about it. They want to push it upon the other concubines to go, oh yeah, you smell pretty. Yeah, don't you wear any? No, I don't wear that stuff. It hurt. It gives me a headache. But man, you smell beautiful. Keep wearing that stuff. I'm going to spend some time with the emperor over here. If, again, they do bring in another concubine, which could possibly be it. This whole important diplomatic partner could be being forged with a concubine, with a princess or somebody from this other nation. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Anyways, I got ahead of myself, but yes, they have talks about bringing in a new lady in waiting. We'll see how that one turns out. But again, it kind of seems, again, something that is the after effects of Lowen just flaunting her lady in waitings. Yes, they have over here, we have Liua has 30 herself. So it's like, yeah, we got to bring in more. We got to bring in more lady waitings. That's when we get a brief shot of Liua. I don't recall them ever implying that Liua is pregnant again. So it seems like finally, which I'm super happy for, because yes, Liua's story in the first season was easily one of my favorite stories of that whole season. Maybe the only one that I'd probably say would compete with her story was probably Mao Mao and her mother. But the whole story around Liua was super, super gut-wrenching. The idea that she did that whole thing with the powder, she didn't listen to anybody, she got super sick, lost her child, and then now she's like more committed to the idea that she wants to bear a child. She has changed a lot. Her personality has changed so much. And to see that she's finally pregnant again, if she is like super heartwarming. She's, of course, sitting there rubbing her belly, which, yes, she could have indigestion. She's probably pregnant. But yes, having Shin walking out the door and then getting a note from a clinic. Now, when I initially watched this segment, I wasn't sure if Liua has been confirmed to being pregnant yet. And so I was like, okay, maybe I missed it and I forgot about it. So what's the message from the clinic? The message from the clinic, now that I think about it, could be that they're confirming that Liua is pregnant. It could be that the clinic has gotten word to Shin, like she's got some informant or whatever, could be telling her that, yes, Gyokyo is pregnant, which could lead in the idea that Shin is trying to sabotage Gyokyo. But it could be a message of Liua being pregnant. So that's the question mark there. It's just, I think the fact that she has a very nasty face on when she gets the message does make me believe that it might be her learning about Gyokyo. Now, it could be learning that Liua is pregnant, could be pushing her more that she wants to have Liua have her child first, and thus wanting to stop Gyokyo. Because again, right now what we're establishing is the emperor doesn't have a son. And that's the key thing here. He needs a son, and the implication here is that whichever of these concubines has the first son, has the first prince, and they're the most important one. So this is a race. It's a cutthroat, nasty race where these people are, essentially playing with children's lives in order to gain favor from the emperor. And so this could be, yes, her pushing to want to have Liua have her child first, or again, learning about Gyokyo's child and wanting to stop her. We'll see. Which does make me kind of wonder if she might be tied into that final scene where we see, again, Honyeon and Gyokyo. I hope not. I'm really hoping that Honyeon is not like some evil person that's going to get paid off or maybe some hostage situation with her family or whatever, or pushed by her family to harm Gyokyo and her child. I hope not. I kind of suspect that might be the direction it goes, though, because I think if they want to kind of drag out this little kind of battle of the concubines, they sort of have to prevent the prince from being born quite yet. But I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, cutting after that, we get a massive flagging by Mama. Out of nowhere, we get some massive flagging coming out of Mao Mao, where out of nowhere, she decides to talk about the spreading of diseases. And the fact that, yes, these caravans come up, and it's so crazy that there's so many people in the rear palace area, yet so little shops. But now you have so many shops showing up. And yes, talking about obviously something very logical here, where it is kind of surprising there's not a massive spread of diseases with how condensed this place is. But it makes sense because of how, sanitary they are, how they have this sewage system that we're finding out might be being clogged up, which could cause, again, some massive spread of diseases. All that stuff is kind of coming up out of nowhere. We have later on, they have a discussion about it as well, how it's kind of one side of the place is getting really stinky. It might be a clogging of that sewage system. All that stuff is being brought up. So that all kind of seems to be flagging for me that somebody is probably going to sabotage the sewage system just to sort of have that backup happen. And yes, with that backup happening, it's going to cause a lot of disease to happen. Not having that proper flow of waste does technically lead to that. And a lot of that has to really do with critters and whatnot, which could tie in the fact that they now have a cat, that you're probably going to have maybe a mouse or something like that, or a rat or something like that. They're going to start having a lot of diseases coming from them. Getting into the area is a possibility. Not necessarily that they has to overflow or that somebody has to go down there and get sick from it. It's more of a fact that, yes, that backs up. The critters get into it, and then you have that spread of diseases. So thanks to Mao Mao for flagging that whole situation there. We'll see. But yeah, that's when we get into the last day of the festival. Mao Mao's got a date with her little sister, going out there to buy some stuff that was super cute. Them randomly running into Shishui, which again kind of implies the idea that her and Xiaolan actually know each other, which is kind of cute. You get a little look into Shishui and the idea that she seems to like to draw, which is interesting. She apparently goes to the north side on a regular basis because they have a lot of plants and whatnot there that she likes to draw the insects on it. So seems to be a way that Mao Mao and her get really connected, is that they both like spiders. No, what was weird to me, and I kind of wondered if it was a mistranslation, is she specifically says, yes, and there's a lot of spiders there. Big, plump spiders, very colorful spiders, and they're delicious. I'm like, I thought this Shisui girl was super cute, and then suddenly out of nowhere, my levels for her went down a lot. You eat spiders? Yuck. So that's interesting. She's a very interesting girl. No, I like when they first arrive there at the clinic. Yeah, the quack is just like, oh, I didn't know you have any friends. She's like, he's blunt, but he's technically right. He's not wrong. But no, they did get in a little about the spending habits of each of the concubines, which I always find very fascinating. Of course, yeah, Xiaolan, she's going to waste a bunch. She doesn't probably even care. She's sitting there all bored, waiting for them to come back with their stuff. Of course, Gyokyo seems like she's very much so a thrifty spender. Like, she's not really spending much, which is kind of a concerning thing because they have to look lavish, which is probably a good thing for her because they didn't buy in a lot of this stuff, which could technically be, again, a plant by somebody to harm them. At least you talk about the fact that, yeah, her lady in waiting's probably all buttered her up just so they can get some stuff. Like, they're totally mean to her. They don't treat her right. But yeah, when it comes to the caravan coming in, suddenly they're super friendly to Lishu. They're like, hey, Lishu, can you buy us some stuff? And then, yeah, Li Hua seems to imply that she bought quite a bit of stuff too, which was a concerning thing because that was pretty much what triggers Mao Mao later on. That this is the one that always jumps on these trends. So yes, when she's starting to sniff all this stuff, which yes, we find Mao Mao has a new fetish here. She's going around sniffing everything, sniffing people's clothes, sniffing on Shin. She's just going around kung 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 kung. Everybody's like, "What the hell are you doing?" Stuffing her head inside the laundry basket. But yes, knowing that they're like super into trends, she immediately rushes over there, which again is one of those kind of nice things about Mao Mao. Like, she considers that to be like the most important thing. Yes, this has happened to Li Hua before. Li Hua before had this issue where they got in that swept up in that massive trend with the face powder and whatnot, and she's immediately concerned about Li Hua, which gets her in trouble with Shin, but again, kind of brings everybody together where we talk about what she smelled on everybody. She's able to list out every single smell. I smelled all the ladies over there, and this is all the stuff that I smelled, which, yes, kind of leads to the issue here with the conjecture and whatnot, is that she's smelling everything that has to do with things that will harm pregnancies. It's going to end pregnancies. It's going to prevent pregnancies. And again, sort of the thing that for me personally kind of jumps to my mind, if I was in Mao Mao's shoes and knowing that, my concern would really be, is this caravan being brought in before the important group that's supposed to come in, which could be another concubine, and they're trying to stop the current concubines from having children. It could be. But again, I like how she sort of stops herself. I mean, she points out the important things to Jinshi. Okay, this is why I did it, so I don't get in trouble here. But also pointing out that this is a lot of stuff that seems coincidental, but also is very impactful. We need to have everybody check their stuff, get this stuff out of there, remove this stuff, and be careful. But go figure, Shin writes a formal complaint. She's so petty. She's so petty. But again, it also kind of makes me wonder if she's tied into this stuff. I don't think so. I think Shin with this episode, despite earlier when I was talking about the idea that, she got that letter from the clinic, again, it could just be specifically she got the confirmation that Lifa is pregnant or whatever. But it really does feel like this entire episode is like overly playing out that she's masterminding something. She's diabolical. She's got that face on, like something, she's going to put something into play. I don't think it's really going to be the case. I think, again, it feels like it's tipping its hand too much. But it is interesting that Mama right here is technically with Jinshi. And the after scene, it does seem like she's trying to connect all the stuff. That there's somebody that knows their stuff. That with the whole situation with the powdering, it does seem like that might possibly be connected with this. Somebody that knows about how things cannot be normally perceived as poisons, but in abundance and in a group, or a lot of it in small dosages in mass quantity, can technically not throw up the flags while at the same time getting the same job done. Rather than send somebody literally a vial of poison and say, hey, this is labeled poison, give it to the concubine. And they're like, oh, that's obviously poison. Gonna put a stop to you. It's going, hey, look at this makeup. Isn't it pretty? Here, take this. Hey, these oils from these flowers, don't they smell beautiful? Take this. They're doing the same job, but normal people aren't going to notice it. But she's also connecting it to the attempted assassination at the ceremony. She's trying to figure out how far does all this reach? But again, that plays into earlier. What I was saying is like, it could be an aspect that over here, this was somebody going after whoever was heading the ceremony, which ends up being Jinshi. But over here, this could be just strictly for the concubines. You can't really necessarily connect it all together. And again, that's something where I think that it's nice about Mao Mao that she doesn't immediately jump to that. But now the scene with her, Jinshi, was great. Him coming in there, it was a cool little bit there because she's pretty much kind of, it really does feel like Jinshi just wants to learn more from Mao Mao. Like he just enjoys speaking to Mao Mao. He's asking a lot of questions. Yes, it's informative questions and it's going to help him with his, investigation. But it does feel like he was more asking the questions just because he wants to talk to Mao Mao. It was a nice little conversation between the two of them. Even though Mao Mao just throws it back at his face because he won't take the damn tea. I wanted that tea. Well, I heard that it messes with fertility, especially men. Oh, was that too much? Oops, that was bad. It did seem like it upset him pretty bad. I wonder if that's what he takes. I know he takes something in order to stop his manhood, to kind of keep it at bay, but I don't know if it was Jasmine. It could be. I think that has a different effect, though. I think that's actually messing with the actual count down there rather than keeping it from being happy. So I don't know. I forget exactly I don't know if they ever mention what he actually takes. But no, he leaves, and that's when Goshun shows up and mentions that they had a middle-rank concubine, Jin, has passed away due to poison, which I don't know how that's all going to be connected, but we're probably going to find out here soon. And then, yes, showing Gokyo and Hanyan. I don't know. I hope that that's a false thing. I hope it's not Gyokyo is being poisoned right there. I would wonder how they would be able to get poison in that back area, unless it's just a case of, yes, something that is not necessarily seen as poison being brought in that they don't just know yet. Here's a new leaf tea. It's great, and then it ends up being a poison. We'll see. Anyhow, again, a lot to talk about in this episode. What a all over the place episode, which again, I do appreciate that, kind of pointing out there's a lot of stuff here. A lot of it stuff could be, basically coincidence. A lot of it could be connected, but we'll see. But anyhow, that's my thoughts on the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below, comment, let me know if the episode. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. If you like my content and want to support the channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I'll take care.